Okay, hi. I'm Sanford Zale from the Core Division. This is for Core 110. We're talking about what we're talking about, and it happens to be B.F. Skinner. We read in Mr. Hock's book a chapter called, we read about an article by B.F. Skinner in 1948 called Superstition in the Pigeon. And the thing is, it's not about pigeons. And the thing is, it's not about superstition. So let's get to the bottom of it here. Now, first of all, as Hock explained to us in the reading, B.F. Skinner is called a radical behaviorist, with the emphasis on the adjective radical. We don't call Pavlov radical. We don't call Julian Rotter radical. They're behaviorists. Skinner was a behaviorist, but we call him radical. The question is why? Well, it's because his proposition, which he spent 50 years trying to inculcate into the heads of all the naysayers, his basic proposition was this. According to Mr. Skinner, all behavior, not some of it, not most of it, not 99% of it, all behavior is caused and can be explained by, in essence, the consequences of behavior. Now, the enormity of this is enormous. Imagine I'm talking to the class. Look into your heart. Have you ever, in your internal monologue or in dialogue with other people, explained some behavior of yours in terms of your thoughts? You want to know why I voted for that candidate? It's because I think that she has better ideas than the other candidate. Have you ever done that? The answer is yes, of course you have. You did it today, and so did I. We do it all the time. But the thing is, if we had B.F. Skinner here with us, this is what his reaction would be. Have you gone mad? You just proved that you understand nothing of human behavior. And as a matter of fact, you have a very limited understanding of what it is to be human. Thoughts are not causes of human behavior, according to our friend Skinner. So this is something most people believe, but Skinner denied it. Look into your heart. Did you ever explain some behavior of yours in terms of emotions, as in, you want to know why I did X? Well, it's because I was jealous. It's because I was happy. It's because I was angry. Of course you explain your behaviors in those terms. So do I. We all do it. Every one of us is going to do it today. Well, again, if we had B.F. Skinner risen from the grave, he would say, have you gone mad? This is false. I don't understand what you're saying. It is not the case, held Skinner, that emotions are the causes, properly understood, of human behavior. He didn't deny that we have thoughts. He didn't deny that we have emotions. He did deny that they cause behavior. So again, his radical proposition is that all behavior is caused by and is created by and can be explained by the consequences of behavior. Now, the particulars are not very difficult to understand. We'll go through them very rapidly. I engage in behavior X. Happens to be, I hand in my paper on time. All right. Why did I do this? Well, according to Skinner, it's not because of some conscious thought of mine. It's not because of some emotion of mine. This is why I did it. It's because the first time that I did it, I'm going to say X, because it can be anything according to Skinner. The first time that I did X, or something like X, obviously there was a time before I had done X, but I probably did something analogous with X. The first time that I did X, the consequences pleased me. And according to B.F. Skinner, these consequences that please me are called reinforcers. This is his theory, so we have to use his vocabulary. The second time that I did X, or something like X, the consequences pleased me. Well, guess what? Now, as Skinner would say, I continue to do X. In other words, I repeat my behavior in similar situations. Do you see where this is going? I am like a machine. That's where this is going. I repeat my behavior in similar situations because, Skinner's way of saying it would be, my behavior has been conditioned by reinforcement. Look at the other side of the story. I do not engage in behavior Z. Could be anything. Happens to be picking my nose in public. I want to pick my nose in public. I like picking my nose in public. Maybe I even want to eat it. But the thing is, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do behavior Z. Why not? Well, it's not because of some train of thought of mine. It's not because of some emotional state of mine. This is why I don't do Z. It's because the first time that I did Z, or something like Z, Lo and behold, the consequences displeased me. These consequences that displeased me, in Skinner's terminology, are called punishers, not negative reinforcement. Punishers. The second time that I did Z, or something analogous with Z, the consequences displeased me. Well, guess what? Now I'm like a machine. I continue not to do Z. I repeat my behavior in similar situations because, in Skinner's terminology, I have been conditioned by punishment not to do so. Well, this isn't very hard to understand. It's called operant conditioning. I just explained operant conditioning, which is Skinner's theory. As you heard, it's conditioning by reinforcement and by punishment. That is to say, by the consequences of behavior. Now here's the thing. Back when Mr. Skinner was alive, and still today, most people do not accept his proposition, his radical proposition, that all behavior is caused by and is created by and can be explained by operant conditioning. That is to say, by the consequences of behavior. Look into your heart. Imagine I'm talking to the students. Raise your hand if you're willing to say that some, or even a lot, of behavior is caused and can be explained by operant conditioning. Oh, everybody raised your hand, and most people would agree with you. Therefore, you should be able to right now to give some examples of your own behaviors which you believe to have been operantly conditioned. Let's hear some examples. Those examples were excellent. All right. Now raise your hand if you're willing to agree with Mr. Skinner. All behavior is created and caused and can be explained by operant conditioning. Nobody has raised your hand. Okay, this is not a surprise, and B.F. Skinner knew it. But the thing is, this guy was a crusader for his fixed idea, which for the nth time is that all behavior is created and caused and can be explained by operant conditioning. And this is why he did the experiment with the pigeons about which we have read. Because this was B.F. Skinner's train of thought. And this man was a genius. So we're going to try to understand his logic. What he said, in essence, was this. Look, if I can prove that superstitious behavior is caused and created and can be explained by operant conditioning, then all of you naysayers, virtually every human being alive, you have to believe me if you have any intellectual integrity. You would have to accept my proposition that all behavior is created and caused and can be explained by operant conditioning. He thought this was the test case. If he could prove it for superstitious behavior, we should accept it for all behavior. So let's try to figure out his logic, and I'll try to explain it in the following way. First, I'm going to pretend to be an opponent of B.F. Skinner, and he had plenty of them. So now, this is what the opponent of B.F. Skinner, in essence, says. You, sir, are a madman. Okay, you alarming man. You claim that all behavior is created and caused by the consequences of behavior. Skinner says, yes, that is my claim. The opponent says, well, superstitious behavior is behavior. Skinner says, yes, obviously, if I get out of the way of a black cat, if I wear my lucky underwear to the job interview, well, that is behavior, sure. Superstitious behavior is behavior. Well, then the opponent says, you see, this is why your theory has to be wrong. Superstitious behavior is behavior, but superstitious behavior cannot possibly be explained by the consequences of behavior. Because, by definition, superstitious behaviors do not have consequences. For the love of God, they don't have consequences. Or at least they don't have the consequences that you think they have. So you can't possibly explain superstitious behavior by means of operant conditioning. Superstitious behavior is behavior, therefore it is false that all behavior can be explained by operant conditioning. To which B.F. Skinner, in essence, replied, you know nothings, you know nothing. Okay, I'm right. This is what he was like, Skinner. I'm right, and all of you naysayers are wrong. See, here's the thing. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to prove that superstitious behavior is created, is caused, and can be explained by operant conditioning. Specifically, I'm going to prove that superstitious behavior is created and caused and can be explained by reinforcement. It's conditioned by reinforcement, I will prove. And, this was Skinner's logic, once I have done this, again, if you are rational, if you have any intellectual integrity whatsoever, you would have to take the leap of faith and agree with me when I say that all behavior is created and caused and can be explained by operant conditioning. You see, reasoned Skinner, I can't prove my theory empirically. It's not possible. I don't have 80 million years to perform 400 trillion experiments on every known human behavior. Never mind that there are human behaviors which we do not know. This is impossible. I can't prove it empirically. So I'm going to try to convince you logically. And the logic of the genius was this. Look, he's saying, if I can prove that behavior that does not in fact have consequences, that's the definition of superstitious behavior. If I can prove that behavior that does not have consequences is caused by and can be explained by the consequences which you merely think it has, wouldn't it stand to reason? Wouldn't you have to agree with me when I say that behavior that actually does have consequences is caused and can be explained by the consequences that it actually does have? Wouldn't that stand to reason? He thought the answer was yes. So again, he said, I'm going to do this experiment with the pigeons. I'm going to prove that superstitious behavior is caused and can be explained by operant conditioning, specifically that it is created by through conditioning by reinforcement, and then you're going to have to believe my general proposition about all human behavior. So I'm going to prove it with regard to superstitious behavior. He proved it. He proved it. That's the point of this study with the pigeons. I'm not going to go into the details about the study with the pigeons. You read about it in Hock. He succeeded in showing that superstitious behaviors are conditioned by reinforcement. I can't stress highly enough. He didn't do the experiment because he cared about pigeons. He didn't do the experiment because he cared particularly about superstitious behavior. He did the experiment because he was trying to show as best he could, and again, there has to be a logical leap of faith, but it's not a leap of faith, it's logic. He was doing the experiment to try to get people to agree with him. All behavior is created and caused by operant conditioning. So, at least according to Excellency Skinner's logic, you, imagine I'm talking to the class, you now should accept his proposition, his radical proposition. Who accepts it? Still nobody accepts it. Well, just to leave you with a couple of things to think about. Skinner would say, and as a matter of fact, I would say, now the onus is on you. He did the best he possibly could, man. He can't prove it empirically. So if you're still rejecting his proposition about human behavior, even after knowing about this experiment with the pigeons, even after appreciating his logic, now it's up to you to explain why you are rejecting it. And any number of plausible explanations for rejecting it can be given, but it can't go without saying. Like, now you're on the defensive, and you have to be able to answer that question. And the other thing to think about is this. Were you to accept Skinner's proposition, then, at least according to him, you also have to accept his determinism. I touched on this at the very start, but let's just be as explicit as we possibly can. Look, according to B.F. Skinner, any behavior can be conditioned. And all behaviors have in fact been conditioned. Well, behavior that is conditioned is not voluntary. So B.F. Skinner indeed was an out and out. This isn't my opinion. By the way, you could go on the YouTube and see moving pictures of B.F. Skinner proclaiming this to the world. I advise that you do so. B.F. Skinner was an out and out determinist man. Everything happens necessarily was his view. So it's a philosophical, ultimately his experiment and his theory leads us to important philosophical considerations. If you accept his theory, you would have to agree with him when he's in fact proclaimed to the world that free will is, this phrase, human beings have free will, that is sound coming out of my mouth, said B.F. Skinner. Those are words that do not have a meaning. Free will is an illusion. It corresponds with nothing in reality. Again, you don't have to agree with them, but I'm just making a suggestion that now the intellectual burden is on you. He's given you his logical proof. Let's hear how you respond to it. Thank you very much.